The Happy Warrior Podcast, conservative commentary on the news of the day from a more positive perspective.
Ta-da! Hello everyone, welcome again. This is the Happy Warrior Podcast, here with your host, Happy Warrior Pete, Peter Pischke. Unfortunately, I do not have Robert Melling, the magnificent, the God King Melling, with me today. Unfortunately, we had planned twice to record this episode together. That's why, instead of the usual Saturday weekend drop, we had to put it off, and I was going to record today with him. I'm not going to share what exactly is going on with Robert, just some personal things. If you guys could please keep Mr. Robert Melling in your prayers. He could really use the help. It seems like the world is just loaded all its burdens on top of the poor guy, and he seriously needs a break. Just one thing after another. It makes me feel like my life is positively, without trials. So please, if you could keep Mr. Melling in your prayers, I would greatly appreciate it. I really believe in the power of prayer. I really believe that our Heavenly Father listens to us, our Divine Creator, the Great Spirit, whatever you want to call Him, and that He answers our prayers and our concerns, especially ones that are made with goodwill and good intentions. Okay, so I want to lead now. After that, I want to lead with our mistakes. I, as having a master's in journalism, being a master of journalism, a journalist master, I just wanted to lead with my mistakes. I hate this. Many news organizations hide their mistakes. They put them in the back pages or at the bottom of articles. I do not like that. If we make a mistake, we should put it at the top. That's my opinion. So I'm going to lead here. The last week we said that Young Kim had become the first Korean senator. Unfortunately, the recounts which was throughout the United States South, by the way. That's kind of odd. These southern states apparently take longer to recount. For whatever reason. Florida. So instead, Cisneros won. So it took the House seat took the House seat in Southern California. Young Kim did not get it. I still believe that they didn't want to cover Young Kim because of media bias. However, I could be wrong. It's just the opinion of moi. So don't take it too seriously. Sadly, Kim lost. I like Young Kim. That is sad to hear that this is going to happen for her. She would have been great, but, it's California. What can you do? Unlike some other people, Stacey Abrams, I'm not going to allege that she lost because of voter fraud or whatever. The government poking its nose into businesses shouldn't be poking. I'm not saying that, okay? Because responsible adults don't say that unless they have strong evidence. So, sorry to send would-be Kim. Sad to hear that. We wish her the best. California chose what California wanted. That's what happened. So, hopefully Cisneros treats you well, and you enjoy him as being one of your congressmen. All right, so now that we got the requisite show opening done, what should we talk about? What should be my favorite fun subject? I love to start my episodes out with something strong, funny. If it has a video, if I can get audio, I love it even the more. So I have this great story. Ben Shapiro was speaking for YAF when I went to see Michael Knowles here at Augustana in my hometown of Sioux Falls. It was YAF was Young Americans for Freedom sponsored it. They sponsor a lot of conservative speakers. Then they go across the country and speak at universities. Ben Shapiro is a pretty well-known one. And, of course, the well-known one's going to top universities. In this case, Ohio State University. I don't know. Is that a top university? I'm not very aware of what... I know the Ivy League ones are big, but after you leave the Ivy League, I have no idea where the state universities stand. Okay, putting that aside of my ignorance. He was at, last week, he was speaking there, and there was some amazing protests. Just the most mind-bending intelligence protesters that have ever protested or chanted in any march ever in the history of man. Here they are, you've asked for it, the protesters at Ohio State University. Okay, there you go. Ohio State University protesters. They are so intelligent. Oh man! Now I'll play it once, but you can find this on the outline. The particular one I went to is the Hill, but these videos are everywhere. I actually had a couple of them, but this was the only one where there isn't f-bombs being dropped left and right. These protesters tend to have very foul language. Did anyone ever notice that? Maybe that's just something that bothers me in my Puritanism and whatnot. Yeah, so they were yelling, "Reagan's dead! Reagan's dead!" And then you can't quite make out what they're saying. And then they move to "John McCain is dead! John McCain is dead!" There's a little spot in there in between. And so you can hear it. I've played it a few times. It's hard to hear, so you may not be able to hear it on the audio. If you play it, you go to the website, you'll be able to hear it. Where they say, "Bush the Younger's dead! Bush the Younger's dead!" And then there's a fade out. People are like, "Wait, someone check Google. Wait a second. Bush the Older's alive." I was either, what did they say? Bush the Older it's something like that. Bush the Older's dead. Bush the Older's dead. I was like, oh wait, crap. He's not. John McCain is dead. I mean, I don't know what, by the way, what does that protesting have to do with anything? Like, okay, Ronald Reagan's dead, okay, so? What's your point? We only listen to people that are alive, apparently. Everyone that's died, just ignore what they said. Doesn't matter. Sweep it off the books. Okay, it's only the living we care about. Ay, that's ridiculous. By the way, that's totally, if these people watch Walking Dead, they totally miss the point of Walking Dead. I just want to point that out. I'm on a Walking Dead binge right now. It's probably my favorite current show. I'm watching it through the whole thing for the third time. Because about the cool news about Rick that got me excited, so I wanted to watch Walking Dead. And part of the thing of Walking Dead is we build it on the people that are dead. So, most of the characters in Walking Dead end up being killed eventually. It's a 9-season show so far. The people AMC want to hopefully go at minimum 10 seasons. And we got 3 movies, and then there's a spin-off series as well. And the idea is characters may have died, but the legacy that they left is still there. So, our character died, but because they died, they're sacrificed for the group. Either their ideas, like... I don't want to spoil anything, but one of the main characters, they die, and his message to Rick is kind of what changes the whole ending of season 8. I mean, it's the ideas. The ideas stay there. We're gone, but we're not there, but the legacy we leave does. So, I mean, it's a stupid idea from the first part. And how does that make sense? Because Marx, he's been dead a good old time. Marcuse, he's dead. What we're saying, anyone that, so FDR, Woodrow Wilson, these are all celebrities they love, leaders of thought, leaders of the U.S. they're all gone, guys. I guess not Marx, but you know what I'm saying. It's just ridiculous. I think it's funny too. I love the part where they're like, Bush is dead. Bush, oh crap, Bush is alive. Dang nabbit, dang it, shoot. Oh, Bob, I told you should have done your homework before we came to the march. Oh, it's Bob's fault. Okay. I'm not enough squandering my time about Walking Dead. I love that show. If you guys want to talk to me on Twitter or email me, Facebook me about Walking Dead, I will chat with you as long as you want. Okay, you've just been warned. All right, so what now? What else are we going to cover? Well, I don't want to leave this beautiful protest quite yet. I have here some video from Fleckus Talks. It's a YouTube channel. Fleckus goes to these protests that they have for speakers, and I'm not necessarily conservative speakers. Bill Maher has been banned, for example, and many of these universities where they have the heckler's veto comes into play. If you don't know, the heckler's veto is the ability that people just make things unsafe so speakers can't be there, or that they can't talk, they make it impossible for whatever reason, the heckler's veto. And we've seen all these legendary protests where it seems like Antifa and leftist students get out of control, like at Evergreen University. Claire McKinnon, I think it's Claire McKinnon. Yeah, Claire McKinnon College. Okay, that's the heckler's veto. So Fleccas talks. He goes and talks to these people and just lets them have their say. They talk to people on the left and they talk to people right. So the other people, the leftists are against Shapiro. Then you have the people on the right that are for Shapiro, and he just talks to both of them. Pretty fair, pretty fair. I like Fleccas. I usually learn a little bit from watching this because it's one thing to read media coverage with protesters, and it's another thing to listen to the protesters themselves. And we here at the Happy Warrior fight with light and truth, so let's just hear what the protesters have to say. A lot of it has F-bombs, so I could only use about 2-3 minutes of it. But hopefully this will help you guys out. If you want to know what the protesters are saying, when they're not chanting, here we go.
Hey guys, it's Fleccas. This week we're at Ohio State University for a YAF speech. Ben Shapiro's here, and these college kids are not happy about it. We're going to see what's going on. Fleccas talks. Slow the front! Free abortion on demand. This way. Are you guys for or against Ben?
Against Ben.
Do you think he should speak tonight or no?
No, not at all.
What about free speech and the Constitution? How does it work?
That's a good point, but he shouldn't be allowed to have free speech if he's going to preach the kinds of things that he preaches.
Are you for or against Ben Shapiro? Well, what are some of the things that you're talking about, though? Specifically, I just mean what he said.
I don't know what he said specifically.
Okay. Do you know any quotes or anything?
I don't know what he said specifically. I just don't agree with his platform and his party platform.
Are you for or against Ben? Are you for or against Ben?
Against him. I don't want to talk to you.
Okay. Are you for or against Ben?
Against Ben Shapiro? Yeah.
Against Ben?
Yep. I'm against Ben Shapiro because it would take a while to describe everything that's wrong with him.
Protesting or for Ben?
I'm just trying to get through the restaurant.
He's trying to go to the restaurant.
No fascist USA!
No fascist USA as he tries to silence me from talking to people. Nice. You think he should speak tonight or no?
What?
You think he should speak tonight? Does he have the right to speak under the Constitution, you think?
Sure he has the right, but we have the right to protest against him, so.
They're yelling, shut Shapiro down. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
That works for me. Who's Ben Shapiro? Why is everyone upset?
He's a transphobe and a racist and a kind of a Jewish, that's all.
What has he said that you don't agree with?
Everything he's ever said, basically.
What's going on? Ben Shapiro's giving a speech here?
He's supposed to be speaking here.
Well, why is everyone against him?
Because elimination politics is a hateful thing, and he doesn't believe that people should be allowed to live.
Okay, there you guys go. There is the amazing protesters at Ohio State University. I love these guys. I want to go over there and give them a big hug. It's so hard. I love the people they talk to. Those ladies in the front. Yeah, you don't like Ben Shapiro? Yeah, we don't like Ben Shapiro. Okay, what is it that Ben Shapiro said that you don't like? Cause like I don't like his like a platform and like stuff and it's just too many things to name. There's just too many things bad about Ben Shapiro. Ooh, scary man. Okay. I mean, the intelligence being shown. And then they had the Antifa guy at the end that's like, and Ben Shapiro's a piece of Jewish. And then he was about to say a nasty, what we would call hate speech, some of us. What would be called hate speech if it was directed to someone on the left. Not okay, by the way. But I mean, just crazy. Just crazy. Just bull crazy. And it's sad. It's sad. I'm reading a great book right now, Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. Neither of those people are leftists. Are people on the right. They're Democrats. Jonathan Haidt is an evolutionary psychologist, and it's a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it enough. I've learned so much reading it, and he talks about how we've gotten to the situation we're in. A wonderful book. Anyhow, talks a lot about this book where they talk about incidents like at Evergreen College where we have people who come out and they don't know what they're talking about. They just hate the other side just because they can't really name why, and they feel that it's a threat to them. and they feel that they have the complete and utter right to overwrite that other person's speech because they don't understand the First Amendment. I mean, they couldn't even, I doubt they could name all five rights granted in the First Amendment. I doubt they could name more than maybe two. Scary stuff. It's embarrassing, really. Ohio State University should be embarrassed, but really they're going to get a pat on the back for all this. Those girls say that they have the right to protest. Yes, you do have the right to protest, but you don't have the right to yell over someone else. That's not a right you have, okay? That's because you have a right you can say whatever the flip you want as long as you don't prevent the other person from saying whatever the flip they want. That's how the First Amendment works. What they're doing is not the First Amendment. This is attack of the mob. Okay, we're going back to mobs. I know Robert's saying, Peter, let go of talking about mobs for crying out loud. Okay, sorry, Robert. The mobs, they keep showing up. I try to get away, they keep following. Okay, so here's another part of the video where he goes to some of the people that are on the right side of the aisle. And I'm saying this is not propaganda. Okay, this is not purposeful propaganda. I can't help it that the people on the left are crazy and know nothing, and the people on the right are completely reasonable. That's not my fault. I am just the messenger. Please don't shoot me.
I try and talk to these guys as much as possible. I say, hey, let's have a discussion. Some of the gentlemen we were talking to, that at the protest, we were like, hey, what's going on? Why don't we talk about this? And every single time I say something, they just come back with a chant.
Yeah, there we have it. That is exactly what happens every single time. Not every time, but a lot of the time, where you want to engage with people that say that Ben Shapiro or whoever's talking is so threatening to them, is a danger to them, has dangerous rhetoric. And they deny it because they aren't ready for an intellectual debate. They go to college and it's not there for intellectualism. And I know that sounds pretty rough. I understand if you think, well, this is just some conservative quack. He's saying because he's a conservative and his feelings are hurt. No, I say as someone that really enjoys academia, really enjoys talking and discussing ideas I agree with, ideas I don't agree with. Sometimes discussing ideas I don't agree with is more exciting and more fun. I enjoy learning and understanding concepts and ideas. I hope I've used this platform of a podcast well to discuss some of the ideas that I believe are influencing our way of life and our nation. I've done it in an entertaining way. So Jonathan Haidt, in his book, he puts out 3 ideas that he says that are ruling today, and he calls them the 3 great untruths. This is the overall big picture part of the story. He puts this in the very first chapter, so you don't have to look too long. He says the 3 untruths that are being taught on our college campuses and unfortunately being swallowed wholly is truth 1, the untruth of fragility. He says this is the opposite. This is basically what doesn't kill you makes you weaker, which is an opposite version of the aphorism created by Friedrich Nietzsche. He wasn't actually the first one to do it, but, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And he says there are some things that will kill you in one go, and there are some things that will hurt you at one go, even if it doesn't necessarily kill you. But by and large, this is a great way to understand the issue. He says kids are being taught that if they're affected by something hard, that it damages them. Not just that, they encounter an idea they don't like, but somehow countering this idea causes them anxiety and gives them PTSD. The amount of students that say they have PTSD and they've never experienced anything really in life that past generations would say you deserve the argument of having shell shock, okay? Just crazy. The untruth number 2, the untruth of emotional reasoning, which is trust your feelings, Luke. The first motion you have when you counter an issue is the right one. Use your emotions to reason out something over the logic of your thought. That doesn't mean you shouldn't use emotions at all, but emotions should be tempered with logic and with reasoning and with study. That's how, adults handle things. But they're not teaching this at schools by and large, which is sad. The third untruth is the untruth of us versus them. It's the good guys versus the bad guys. This is just swallowing our media culture and believing it to be true, that everything is protagonist versus antagonist. And the truth is, most people are both good and bad. Was George Washington a good guy or a villain? Well, he was actually a combination of both. There are things that Washington did badly. He was an owner of slave, but things he did good. He's the father of the nation. Same thing with Jefferson. You can go on and on. You can find, it's hard to find anyone in history that was entirely good or entirely bad. Okay, I'm going to use an extreme, but even Hitler liked animals. I mean, there are good things and bad things to everyone. Winston Churchill is another one. Winston Churchill saved the West from Nazism. He saved it. He was the only one that was willing to stand up and fight when it was unpopular to do so. But on the other hand, if you're from the country of India, you think that Winston Churchill is a monster because the British government under Winston Churchill's leadership denied food to India when they were in the midst of a famine, making it much, much worse. Winston Churchill, a guy in history that we can look up to, did things that are wrong too. People in real life, are good and bad. That's within each and every one of us. I think most of us know this to be true. Another thing they show in Walking Dead. Rick is a great guy, but also sometimes he's a mass murderer. That's not the best example because Walking Dead's a little weird from episode to episode. But you get it. So there's the three untruths. The untruth of fragility, what hurts you makes you weaker. The untruth of emotional reasoning, your emotions always know better. And the untruth of us versus them. It's the good guys versus the bad guys all the time. Okay? It's not the difference of ideas, difference of opinion. Robert and I disagree on some things, and that's okay. Amendment W it was one thing we disagreed with about whether it would pass and whether it was a good idea or not. I'm not going to say who was on what side. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. And, that's okay. Robert and I are friends. I don't think Robert is on the side of Satan. Okay, I'm not that. No, we disagree. I have friends that work on the Sioux Empire podcast that are completely opposite. Gabriel Nightshield, probably he and I disagree 75% of the time. I do not think Gabriel Nightshield's a bad person. We just disagree. Gabriel Nightshield, there's a ton of good things to say about Gabriel Nightshield and his very popular podcast, the Urban Indians podcast. Okay, we just disagree, and that's okay. But too often on colleges, that these three untruths have been pushed forward. And the example I'm going to go to for proof, because I don't want to just say something and not show evidence, go to Yale 2015. If you remember this, we all made fun of Yale in 2015 when the school came out, not just a student organization, but the official administration of Yale came out and said what Halloween costumes aren't allowed for cultural appropriation and racism reasons. And a professor there who was one of the masters at Sullivan College, which is a residential Yale college, came out and she just sent on an email listserv. Okay, so this wasn't to everyone in the school. It was just to the people in administration, saying that maybe this isn't the best idea because, maybe this isn't the right place for the people to make that choice. Students can make this decision if they want, but she says this great paragraph, and she says, have we lost faith in young people's capacity, in your capacity to exercise self-censure through social norming, and also your capacity to ignore or reject things that trouble you? What does this debate about Halloween costumes say about our view of young adults, of their strength and judgment? Whose business is it to control the forms of costumes of young people? It's not mine, I know that. She's saying we can trust young adults to make these decisions for themselves, that they're tough enough, and if they encounter something they don't like, they can handle it. We're living in a free society. You're going to encounter stuff you don't like. That's part of the thing of living in a free society. Crazy. I think this is an idea I used to believe that everyone agreed with, but too often, young people, and I'm not going to name any names of people that I know in my life, buy this. They buy into this. What hurts us, what doesn't kill me, hurts me, and makes me worse, makes society worse. Okay, by the way, that is how we get to dictatorship. It's that kind of thinking. Here's two clips of audio I'm going to play from Yale. Basically, after this email came out, the students went nuts. Many professors were fanning the flames and pushing this, and just got humongous. They eventually forced the dean, I'm not sure, was he provost? Yeah, he was provost, and his wife, who was also respected. Both of them very respected. Dr. Weinstein, the guy, he was the husband of the lady that sent this email, was in 2009's Time 100 Most Influential People of the Year. Okay, Weinstein is loved for all the in academia for all his contributions. Okay, both he and his wife work at Ivy League College, one of the top colleges in the United States, heck, in the world. these are respected people. But all that work does not matter. They offended the mob, and so the mob must kick them out. And unfortunately, that is what happened. And for their safety and for their love of the school, they did eventually leave. They put out a lawsuit, and they won, which they should have. Thank goodness that there's some sane people out there. But here's some of the stuff that went on in 2015, and I use this to illustrate my point about Jonathan Haidt's book. That Jonathan Haidt got the college problem to the T, and this is something that we need to all be aware of, because the young adults that believe this are now entering corporation, businesses, society as full adults. And they are going to be the future leaders, and what they believe, and if they don't learn from it and turn around and accept what you and I believe to be what makes the West so great, free speech and free democracy, we are in a lot of trouble. Okay, so here's number one. This is Bret Weinstein trying to engage with the students to talk about why it hurt their feelings. He apologizes about hurting their feelings, and he tries to get them into an intellectual debate about why this hurts them. They're at a top college, we want to do Dead Poet Society. Why is this wrong? Why, we try to engage. I'm not a fan of that movie, by the way. My sister is, but I'm not. But it's that idea. We're going to engage. We're at college. That's what we do. We engage at college. Not so. I know I'm getting a little bit long-winded. Here is the audio of the so-called shrieking girl screaming at Professor Nicholas Christakis, and it exploded across the internet in 2015. I should quickly add that there are F-bombs coming up, so if you are with a bunch of kiddos, please turn the volume down and come back in 5 minutes or so. Thank you for your patience.
Exception is because other people have rights too, not just
walk away. Walk away. He doesn't deserve to be listened to. Unsafe space here for all. Be quiet. For all humans. You understand that? As your position as master, it is your job to create a place of comfort and home for the students that live in Silliman. You have not done that. But sending out that email, that goes against your position as master. Do you understand that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why the fuck did you accept the position?
Because
who the fuck hired you?
I have a different vision.
You should step down. If that is what you think about being a master, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here. You are not doing that.
You're supposed to be our advocate.
You should be at the event last night when you hear her broke up say that she didn't know how to create a safe space for her freshmen in Silliman. How do you explain that? These freshmen come here, they think this is what Yale is? Do you hear that? They're going to leave. They're going to transfer because you are a poor steward of the community.
Again, like I always tell you, I like to play the full clips of the audio so you can get a more rounded idea of what was said. This isn't just soundbite class. Crazy, right? This isn't an intellectual space. We are creating a home here. Wait, what? I thought we went to college for the intellectual value of college. I thought that was the whole point of university. Apparently not so. And it's sad to say we've seen incidents of this, big ones happen several times now since 2015. Evergreen, Claire McKenna College are just gigantic examples you can use to Google search, but there have been smaller incidents as well. These things are much too common. You can remember all the insanity that went on during the Kavanaugh stuff in September and October. I mean, insane, right? That's not the other one. I have another clip I could go with, which is scary. There's a wonderful article by The Federalist on this whole debacle. If you guys want to know the whole story, look up Watch a Mob of Yale Students Bully Professor They Say Hurt Their Feelings. This is by Bray Payton, and she shows more video. We actually have about 20 minutes of audio in addition to this one of him just constantly trying to apologize, trying to say, I believe in free speech, and I want to debate, I want to discuss this. It's not even he's saying to debate, I want to discuss this. Let's have a conversation, and that's too much. And it's all about feelings. It's all about how safe they are. Nothing there is about their rights. Nothing there is about the value of something. It's all about how, we have to have a safe place. We have to be hidden and protected because we're fragile little glass creatures that will break if confronted. It just scary stuff. Okay, so I have one more clip. This is another part that I thought was very interesting, and you take from it what you want.
Let us define our own experiences. Let us tell you if you're being racist.
Okay, no.
Actually, that is actually how it works.
One second.
You don't
Let me
get
say
mad
something
at
else.
us.
So I have a vision of us as people, as human beings,
Yes.
that actually privileges our common humanity. That is interested not in what is different among us, but what is the same. Okay? And so we all have the capacity, I believe.
Okay, so
Let me finish one sentence. I believe even though I have a different life experience than you, even though I have a different skin color and gender than you, I believe there are parts of your experience that I can understand as a human being.
Hold on,
one idea at a time. One idea at a time. If you want to just look for reasons to either to think ill of me, you are free to do so. But if you'd like to, I understand you think ill of me. But if you want to hear what I have to say, and you want to actually, act in a way that is like people who are interested in a conversation, then let me at least address as a human being one thing at a time. Don't act like a mob that's trying to get me to say different things. Like I was just saying, I have a vision of ourselves that unites our common humanity. Okay? So I believe even though I'm not like you in the sense of my superficial appearance, that I can sit down and talk to you and understand your predicament. That I can listen to you. If that's not true, if you deny that, then what is the reason that you ask to be heard by me or anyone else?
Because we're dying.
Right now. Look at me.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
Do you understand? You and I are not the same person. We're humans. Great. Glad we understand that. But your experiences will never connect to mine. Empathy is not necessary for you to understand that you're wrong. Okay? Even if you don't feel what I feel ever, even if nobody's ever been racist to you, because they can't be racist to you, that doesn't mean that you can just act like you're not being racist.
Oh, wow. Isn't that piece of audio amazing? Amazing. Major props for Christakis here, where he's like, we have a common humanity. I mean, even though I'm not black, there are things that you and I have in common in our daily lives that matter. And there's no way he's going to reason with them. He can't get through to anyone. Part of I think is so funny is this group doesn't clap for each other. They do I can't snap. This is something I can't do, by the way. I can't snap my fingers. But they're doing the snaps like, yeah, woo, yeah, woo, all right. They're yelling at each other and throwing F-bombs, but they snap because clapping would be too aggressive. It's insane. This is really insane. This culture it's dangerous. I mean, it really is. Want to talk about dangerous rhetoric? This is a danger ideology that could do real damage to our social fabric because it makes talking to each other impossible. It puts up this idea that there isn't a common humanity. That's a dangerous, dangerous idea. When we other someone, they talk about this at the university. We don't want to other people. And they're correct. We don't want to other people. That includes the people who you think are being mean to you. Right? We should acknowledge each other's humanity and what we've got in common. Not try to spread each other thin and divide. It's just ridiculous. So that's the bit. That's my big segment for today. Now we're going to move to some fun stuff. Please look up the book by Jonathan Haidt. Thank you to the Federalist. And if you happen to be curious, you should know that Nicholas Christakis is doing well now these days. He recently won the top award you can receive from Yale for his amazing teaching skills and being an awesome professor. Totally deserves it. This guy handled that situation as best as anyone possibly could. It's just insane. It's one thing for you guys to disagree. That's fine. But it's another to prevent me from talking. It's say anyone that disagrees isn't allowed on campus. I mean, wow. That is insanity. However, it's kind of fun to note that we are not alone in the insanity. These ideas are spreading all around. Just in the span of a week, I have 3 insane stories from fellow English-speaking nations, Britain and Australia, and you can see some of this ideology poking its head. The great 3 untruths. They're being found now across the seas in our fellow lands.
I
And welcome back to GMA and today's Weekend Download. When is dressing to impress too much? A high school in England has banned students from wearing designer winter coats like Canada Goose and Montclair, which can run over $1,000 in an attempt to stop what's been called poverty shaming.
Yes, that's right. In addition to all that I've shared now, another thing is making people feel bad for any reason. So we have the wonderfully named, very apt title, by the way, poverty shaming. Dun, dun, dun! Yes, have you ever heard of something so heinous, so evil, as making poor people feel poor? That's terrible. It's the worst. Yes, British schools are banning expensive designer coats. I mean, should the schools be able to do this? I mean, that's up to you. I don't live there. I think it's ridiculous. Like, the kids don't know the other kids are rich. Like, this is like a giant news to them. Like, come on. No, it's silly people would even spend that much money on a designer jacket. I'm just saying that's a waste of your money. Don't, just find something else. Find like a Patreon for like homemade Girl Scout cookies, alpaca, influenza, something. Like anything else. But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's this story about the banning of the coats, and then it's the other one about we can't have capital letters in England. What? Yes, we can't have capital letters. You mean like Sesame Street capital letters? Those capital letters? Yes, those capital letters, Sesame Street letters. C is for cookie. Yeah, they're saying that people who come to talk, who come to speak, or assign work to students might upset them if they use capital letters. So here's the lead here. It's a Metro article. A memo sent out to staff at Leeds Trinity Journalism Department suggests using uppercase letters may scare them into failure. It also suggests ways they could address the students, such as writing in a friendly tone and avoiding overbearing and negative language. Yeah, the journalism department. You know, my people, my folks. Yeah, the people you want to read the news and tell you what's going on in the world, they should be the one. Those ones are so scared of capital letters. Yeah, the people we might send overseas into, God-forsaken war zones, capital letters are just too scary. It's ridiculous. They might encounter someone they don't like that uses capital letters. You make me feel unsafe. He gave me a letter. Oh, you gave you a letter with a letter. Oh, it just said that we'd have an appointment at 9. Oh, it was terrible. I don't see. You don't understand, Brett. He used capital letters. Bum, bum, bum. I can't take it. That's awesome. I love that story so much. Last one I think is funny. My mom actually might be in front of that. She's had this theory for years, but using the Daily Wire link, I think it actually came from Sky News. So this is Sky News Australia. Australian universities are threatening to ban sarcasm. I like the Daily Wire headline that says, "And I am offended." That's from Cassie Dillon. That's funny. Yeah. Australian university wants to ban students from using sarcasm. According to the Institute of Public Affairs Free Speech on Campus Audit 2017, the University of Queensland, Western Sydney University, so these are 3 schools, and Charles Sturt University all banned sarcasm, and their anguish is palpable and justifiably overwrought. We must protect the feelings of students as we prepare them to go into the real world, where they will certainly be shielded from harsh language or distasteful humor. Notice the sarcasm. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Now, my mom hates sarcasm, except when she uses it. It's a little poke in the ribs there, Mom. This is ridiculous. First of all, there's a difference between sardonism and sarcasm. You think a top these universities would know the difference. Point number 2, that is an impossible thing to do because I think almost every culture on the planet uses sarcasm in some form. I mean, come on. That's got to be impossible to keep banned. I don't know how you'd even begin to do that. You know what? Little Jimmy, you have to leave class. You use sarcasm. But Professor, I mean it right now. Right now. They know that was going to be a funny thing, but I just could not think of something because the sarcasm, it's so, I feel so denigrated and so unsafe, so hurt by, I cannot possibly talk with you, the audience, any longer. We have to move on. Okay, so here's the next part of my hard article for the day. We are going to talk about the evil Betsy DeVos and the more evil changes to Title IX. If you read the article from ABC, if you read the piece on this by the Washington Post, you already know what this is about. It's just the evil Betsy DeVos wants to make it so sexual abusers can get away scot-free. They can abuse as many women, when and where and how they want. That's all this is about. The headline, Betsy DeVos pitches protections for students accused of sexual assault. That's from ABC. Or we can go the Washington Post one with Betsy DeVos sets to bolster rights of accused in rewrite of sexual assault rules. Yeah, this Betsy DeVos chick, she is so evil. She is so wicked. Here's what she said. She said, every survivor of sexual violence must be taken seriously, and every student accused of sexual misconduct must know that guilt is not predetermined. We can and must condemn sexual violence and punish those who perpetuate it while ensuring a fair grievance process. Those are not mutually exclusive ideas. They are the very essence of how Americans understand justice to function. Wait, what? That doesn't sound very evil to me. Yeah, Betsy DeVos is adjusting part of Title IX rules. Title IX, it's a big thing we can get into because it also affects sports and a bunch of other things. But in this very case, we're talking about how schools often have their own court system that actually has no power but to kick you out of school. But they have their own court system, and often people get accused and they aren't allowed to defend themselves. They aren't allowed someone to defend them, so they're not allowed to, someone like a lawyer attorney to step up for them. They aren't allowed to look at the evidence. They aren't allowed to cross-examine. The person accused is not allowed to cross-examine the witnesses. This is a standard in most nations of the world. This is the standard the United States has, both civil and criminal. But colleges won't allow it, and so we've had men over the last several years, some of them guilty, some of them not, but the point is you aren't allowed to defend yourself. That is a basic human right. Human right is that if you get accused of something, you get to stand up and say, hey, I didn't do it. I mean, if you didn't do it, you should be allowed to not do it. And, of course, we're not mind readers, so everyone, if they get accused of something, should have the right to defend themselves. Can we all agree on that? I think we can. I think the vast majority of people can agree on that. Well, the Obama rules made this situation where the people who are accused are not allowed to defend themselves. We've now even had men that have been kicked out of the school, have sued and won millions off universities. Betsy DeVos, she's a very cool person, a very cool life story. Her detractors want to say she's just this rich, uppity gal that doesn't know what she's talking about and just wants to help evil, sexist men get away with, terrible, vile crimes. Not true. She was not born in wealth. She, was only in college when her dad became wealthy. She worked most of her young life. She is a very big advocate in education. She's been in the education circles for a long time. We are only adjusting the Obama rules and just returning them to basically what they were before the Obama administration messed it up. I don't see, and she even says here that, if you want the person that's accused, you can have their lawyer cross-examine the witnesses and the guy not be there. So if we don't want to hurt survivors, then have the guy be in another room and let their defender do it for them. I think that's completely reasonable. I don't understand why it's so evil. There's a fantastic article on Reason that examines the media bias on this, particularly ABC. It's called ABC Makes Patently patently false claim about new Title IX rules. The new standard does not require victims to show they can't return to school. It doesn't even require them to leave school in the first place. They basically say that ABC made a complete and utter smear job. Just ridiculous. it's very frustrating to me. As someone that's ran for school board twice, education is a very important thing to me. I think I've shown this, that I have a passion for education. I believe education is one of these things that can enable us as a human race to, rise up and to be intellectual giants. I want this for everyone that possibly can, to be their own scholars, be your own intellectual. Go as far as you can in your academics and your understanding of issues. Learn and study and educate yourself throughout your whole life. I am all about that. I love education. I think it changes lives. It's an amazing thing. I'm a huge fan of people like Booker T. Washington. Education is amazing. Amazing. I mean, Abraham Lincoln is the great example of what education can do to change your life. So this is not what is being labeled by the media. I'm very frustrated that they would go ahead and do that. It's funny, in the Washington Post article, they have this front where it's just, letting accusers, those evil accusers get away with it kind of stuff. This is, it's funny, Title IX comes from a 1972 law. I think maybe Congress should probably act and come out with a new one before we hit the 50-year mark. That's besides the point. You have to scroll down, way down to the article. You get to this part. The most significant change will guarantee the accused the right to cross-examine their accusers, though that would have to be conducted by advisors or attorneys for the people involved rather than by the person accused of misconduct. If requested, the parties could be in separate rooms. During the cross-examination, the administrative official said this was done to bolster the due process rights of the accused while assuring the victims are not directly confronted by their assailants. It's ridiculous. Even the Trump administration wanted them to be allowed in the room when they cross-examined. So this is actually even not as much as what President Trump was saying he advocated. I don't see how this is wrong, guys. This is completely within reason. There will, just by the numbers of percentages, say 1% of people are falsely accused, okay? Just 1%. Shouldn't they have the right to defend themselves? If it was your son, if it was your uncle, heck, if it was your daughter that was being falsely accused, wouldn't you want them to be able to stand up for themselves and defend themselves? And if we're going to have these fake school courts, and I, by the way, do not think we should do that. I don't think that's a good idea. We should be able to defend ourselves as we would in normal court. If these school courts are supposed to teach us about the court system and be able to people to adjudicate for themselves, then they should mimic and they should look like the real thing, okay? If we're going to have the minor leagues, it should look like the majors. I don't understand why this is crazy. I know I could go on and on and on, so I'll stop it there. But I'm going to say Title IX changes are good. They are good. They're a good idea. Go for them. Everyone should have the right to due process. Due process is a very basic thing. That's where everyone got wrong. That's what half the country got wrong on Kavanaugh. It wasn't that Kavanaugh is necessarily innocent. It's that Kavanaugh deserves due process rights. Okay, we can't all just we can't all just have this pseudo court and this, when we're listening to people, witnesses, but no one actually has any judicial power. Nothing rulings ever going to happen. The evidence is 30 plus years old. Okay, we have to have due process. There has to be rule of law. Without rule of law, we're just animals. We're just savages. Rule of law is what sets us above our savagery, our baser natures. Okay? We need rule of law. I'm sorry I'm hitting the gavel so hard. This stuff, I show you what's happening at the university, and then I see pieces like this, and I'm like, we are doomed. We're doomed. Ugh. Future generations, if our country survives all this craziness, are be like, what the fetch was in the water? What was going on here? It's funny. I watched something like Star Trek in the 1990s. Next Gen, big fan Picard. Looking forward to the new stuff. These ideas are just very basic. They talk about ideas like common humanity. They talk about ideas that everyone has a right to a defense, Just very basic ideas that we all used to agree on. And it's only in the last 10 years or so that at least the representation of half the country, people who represent half the country, so our universities, our media figures, our celebrities, our politicians, want to sweep away so much of these ideas. And I don't know why they do it. We could have an argument about why they do it. Some of it's just self-serving. Some think this is the best way to win future coalitions and elections. I don't know. But to sweep away these ideas is just dangerous, utter nonsense. And it's stupid. And it's a contagion. And it seems to be spreading to our brothers and sisters, in Australia and Great Britain. That is awful. That is awful. All right, well, let's cover one more funny thing, and then, three more funny things, and then we will do my Thanksgiving tribute, and we'll cover Stan Lee, because I like Stan Lee a lot, and it was sad to hear of his passing. So what's something funny? Where's some funny things? Okay, we'll do David Hogg and his amazing insight. I'm so glad we decided to give an 18-year-old the keys to the media. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Here's some wonderful insight. David Hogg came out, what is this? Oh, it was just last week. Okay. He said, imagine, I'm saying in Trump's voice, imagine saving the only way to stop shark attacks is with more sharks. That's right. That's right. The only way. Imagine if I use Trump's voice, then we can all recognize how unintelligent it is. But we put David Hogg up there. Oh, David Hogg is so smart. He's so smart. David Hogg. Imagine saying the only way to stop shark attacks is with more sharks. Yet, you can't even begin to make sense of that, can you? You tried there, and that just did not work. I can't even begin to understand what you're saying. He's saying, what is it? I'm gonna really give it a fair shot. Give them, I think that we should give each other, look at the best of their stuff, not the worst. We should give them benefit of the doubt. You hear the phrase benefit of the doubt? That's what it means. We give them the benefit of the doubt. We want to have the very best. We don't look at their very worst. He's saying what? That guns don't stop guns? Is that what he's saying? I don't understand, because, how the police stops guns and they use guns, right? And people that have home invasions, how do they stop it? They defend themselves with what? Usually it's guns. I don't understand the shark analogy. I really am trying here. I'm really trying. Shark analogy, I want it for the win. Shark analogy all the way. I want shark analogy 2020. We should see more. There should be more shark analogies. Political shark analogies are just, there aren't enough of them. We really need more political shark analogies. All right. Here's another one. Fun story the old guys will enjoy. Drunk man goes clothes shopping online, orders peacock, pig, and giant salamander. This one, by the way, I have from Newsweek, because I do not speak Chinese. Yes, this happened in China. Or as Trump says, China. China. It's Chinese. The Chinese, China. That wasn't good. I'm not good at impressions. I try. It's not good. It's like Mitt Romney telling jokes. You just can't. You just shouldn't try. Here's how it goes. I'll just read it. In the early hours of yesterday morning, when I was drunk, I clicked on Taobao and started shopping. Because, they don't have eBay. All along, I thought I had only 2 sets of clothes. I suddenly remembered to look up the delivery date of my clothes and realized I had also bought a pig and a peacock. Oh my gosh. On Weibo, which is the big social media platform they're all forced to use over there. He had cute screenshots of the micro pig he bought and the salamander, and these are really cheap. He only paid $55 for the peacock. $55 for a peacock, and about $40 for the salamander, about $40 for the micro pig. I kind of want a micro pig. What is a micro pig? Those sound cute. Just in the name, micro pig. I want a micro pig. Get me a micro pig. Hashtag Pete wants micro pig. Okay, one more. This is not intentionally funny. It is hilarious. Sometimes you get these articles. So this is from The Slot. I read Jezebel, Gawker, and The Root because you don't have to. So you don't have to, I should say. Brett Kavanaugh's possible replacement is a conservative fever dream. This is about Naomi Rao, who is awesome, by the way. She's similar to Kavanaugh, is super qualified for the position. She currently leads the Office of Information Regulatory Affairs in the OMB, or the Office of Management and Budget. She's a big deregulation person. She's been trying to dismantle the so-called administrative state. That last part I'm reading directly from the article. She's probably going to be the one that's called. She went to George Mason University's Antonia Scalia Law School, and this one says that sentence came from hell. And she is also, and here's the part. Here's the reason why you should not. We don't want her. We don't want her. She is so evil. So many evil people are here today. I mean, it's the pantheon of evil. It's the Injustice League. Another thing to know about Rao is that she is a noted defender of an effed up practice called dwarf tossing. That sounds like Donald Trump would like that sport, doesn't it? Dwarf tossing. Especially popular in Florida bars, dwarf tossing is a strange spectacle which competitors throw Velcro-clad little people at a wall or mattress-like shot put. The longest toss wins. The sport has been banned in some American states and part of France, where a judge upheld such bans because of considerations of human dignity. And she's basically said that people should be allowed to do whatever the hell they want. I mean, I know that's crude, but come on, people. If it's wrong to coerce someone to dwarf toss. Like if you have a little person, whatever you call him, dwarf, half man, I don't know. That last one sounds awful. I don't know. We'll say dwarf. We'll go that one. If you're a person that's of shorter stature, it's St. Patrick's Day, and someone grabs you from your car, forces you into a bar, and then throws you against a wall. Yes, that is wrong. It should be banned. Actually, it already is banned because that's assault and kidnap. However, if you're a dwarf and it's St. Patrick's Day and you want to make an easy $5,000, and you maybe you like being picked up, I don't know. Then go ahead. I don't see where the problem is. I really don't. If this idea of dignity, they only bring in dignity when it's something controversial. They only bring in dignity when it's something someone wants to do. This dignity as a legal definition is bunk. It really is, because dignity is defined on the person that sees it. It's the eye of the beholder. What dignity is to you may not be what dignity is to me. We might have total different definitions of dignity. But Terry Schiavo, that's where the stupid dignity stuff comes into it. Whatever. And I'm not saying that dignity as a concept don't exist. To say honor and human uprightness and standing and just, good stuff about humans, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but it says using it for a legal argument is bunk. Anyhow, that was their big argument. Their big thing is about dwarf tossing. Yes, see, Rao's okay with dwarf tossing. It does, it's not even that Rao is like saying, I love dwarf tossing. I participate every year in my local dwarf tossing league. No, she's just the old be and let be. And that's what America used to be all about. It was only in the 20th century that we totally moved to this idea of, you should do what I want you to do, and not that you get to choose. It's me that gets to choose, not you. It's all about me, me. I know I'm beginning to sound like a bit like a toddler, but come on! If the guy wants to be tossed, let him be tossed. If he wants to be tossed on days that aren't St. Patrick's Day, or if he wants to toss like a bigger man, like the dwarf tosses the guy, I don't know, maybe he's really buff. He's been working out. I have a story about a 5-year-old that works out and won this Mercedes, but that's the story for another day. Go for it. It's just ridiculous. We can't have her because she likes dwarf tossing. And somehow that dwarf tossing is somehow a conservative fever dream. It's not true, by the way. That's more a libertarian thing than a conservative. I'm I don't know what to call myself. Some days I think I'm a fusionist. Some other days I'm conservative. Some days I'm a classic liberal or libertarian. I don't know. I would like to call myself maybe a Stossel conservative, because I'm a bit more of a conservative version of John Stossel. Okay, he definitely believes in be and let be, and I agree with that. I would say, except for the extreme abortion, I think people should generally be allowed to do whatever the heck it is they want, as long as the old Jefferson aphorism: if it neither breaks my leg or steals from my wallet, let it go. I don't care, as long as you don't pick my as long as it doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg. Let's do that one. I like that one. We'll go with it. Jefferson, not a perfect guy, but man, he was a good thinker. That thunker named Thomas Jefferson. Well, it's been about an hour and a half recording for me, more like hour 41 minutes. We are about at the 59 mark, so I think we're good for fun stuff. I actually had 2 more segments, but I'm going to save them for Robert. One is about Amazon and Ohio, which had the most hilarious reason in the history of man for moving there. I love what Ohio offered. So I'm going to end it. I also had another thing about John Acosta, but that thing hasn't totally played out yet. And I want to, I think both sides of this argument are wrong, by the way. I think Acosta's probably more on the wrong, but Trump is a little bit on the wrong here, too, when it comes to Jim Acosta. Did I say John? Jim Acosta. Okay, so here is last things. Number 1, William Goldman passed away. William Goldman was the writer of Sundance. Was it Sundance? No, Sundance Butch and Cassidy Kid, something like that. Also, Princess Bride is probably what he's even more famous for. I loved him. When I was in middle school, I read the book version of The Princess Bride 100 times, 1,000 times. I mean, especially in 7th grade, I read that thing over and 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 over. And there are not a lot of books that I've done that. Maybe Lord of the Rings, where I just cannot let go and I keep going back to it. I'm not really that person. I mean, Walking Dead is like, I'm 3rd time watching it through and I love Walking Dead. I just don't like watching things over again. He passed away, sadly, at 87. I love the Princess Bride book. I love the movie. It is so sad to have him leave. He actually wrote a bunch of screenplays for a different thing. He had a cool screenplay for the Shazam movie that didn't get picked up, and it's an awesome screenplay. Look it up online if you can. Very sad to hear that he passed away. I send my regards to his family. Thank you for creating 2 wonderful movies I love, especially The Princess Bride, which when I was, being bullied in middle school, one of the things I could dig into for comfort was the story of Princess Bride and these great swordsmen and fighters, and it's just such a cool book, So thank you for that. The other thing I want to talk about is Mr. Stan Lee. So in this age of craziness where partisanship and political animosity seems to be higher than ever. A poll came out from Axios about less than a month ago that showed that both Democrats and Republicans basically vile each other, and they think of each other as racist and evil and hate each other, which follows previous polls by a different group back in 2016 and others. We are looking at the other side as evil and bigoted and racist more and more. We are we're going to use the left's favorite term. We're othering them. We're othering the other side, the people that don't agree with us. There was someone that did not do this, though, and he just passed away, and his philosophy, his moral philosophy, is a huge, huge loss. In fact, we should probably include him as one of the great authors of Western literature, even though his literature is a little different. I'm talking about the amazing Stan Lee. Stan Lee passed away at 95. He is the creator of Spider-Man. He's sort of creator of Captain America. He is the creator of the Hulk and Iron Man and thousands of characters. Fantastic Four, that unfortunately has not had a good movie yet. He was in the cameos for all these amazing Marvel movies that you and I love. Everyone loves. We all love the great Marvel movies. They have brought joy and fun, and they're one of the few things it seems like we can all agree on doing, even though we disagree on politics. Stan Lee was about this. Stan Lee was about seeing the good in people. Stan Lee was about defending what was right, especially when times are hard. His heroes were vulnerable. Sometimes they did bad things and it was their fault. Spider-Man being the greatest example. Spider-Man got his Uncle Ben killed. And Spider-Man made mistakes that hurt those around him, but he kept trying and he kept going at it. And a lot of people relate to the story of Peter Parker. A lot of people, even still today, look back and say that was when I needed that, I looked back and saw, the power with great power comes great responsibility. We've enjoyed the story about Iron Man, about how he tries to overcome his weaknesses, how he has to try to overcome his ego and his pride, problems with addiction. I mean, he changed comics. I mean, besides creating just a whole ton of them, and there are 1,000 upon 1,000 characters that are him. X-Men is another one. and ones that he didn't directly make. He was, he influenced people to do so. An amazing, amazing man. Always made me laugh. He was still working every day till the day he died. His wife passed away last year, so I'm sure it was a hard year for Stan. I want to play. I'm going to play a clip for you. This is some of the last footage we have of Stan Lee, and then I'm going to read a post that Stan made about the subject of bigotry back in the 1960s.
We got, again, the fans love your sense of humor, and
it's an equal love fest, because I love my fans. I cannot tell you how much I love my fans. They, sometimes at night I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's it all about, And then I get a letter from a fan, or I read something, or I see something, or I remember something, and I realize it's so lucky to have fans who really care about you. And that's the reason I care so much about the fans, because they make me feel so great. And there's something, if you think about it, that is wonderful about somebody caring about you as I care about them, whom you've never met, who may live in another part of the world, but they care, and you have something in common, and occasionally you contact each other. And this business of fans, I think, is terrific. And I love them all.
Did you hear that part? I'm staring up at it. I'm sorry. This week is Thanksgiving, and that message about caring about people, that you never met, that love of the common humanity, and that love and affection that you feel for each other. Stan Lee is famous for loving the people that are interested in the stuff that Stan did, and that might be a little easy. It might be, the Bible says it's kind of easy to love people that love you, but I mean, he did this when he was popular and when he wasn't. He's been just very kind, very kind and very loving, and has always treated the fans well, or has always kept trying to treat the fans well. Man, I'm tearing up at this. I don't know why. Maybe I'm processing it now. That if anyone could be as lucky as Stan Lee to have the impact on the culture and for positive goodness in the world, it's Stan Lee. He was a true happy warrior in the original sense of the poem. So there's one thing last year I want to talk about. And so we go back to the 1960s. Stan Lee is not the amazing Stan Lee of the Marvel movies. He's just Stan Lee that works on the middling popular comic. And he had something called Stan's Soapbox that was in a lot of his issues. And I'm just going to read the whole thing. And this is the message we need today. It's 50 years later from this thing came out in 1968. Let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. But unlike a team of costumed supervillains, they can't be halted with a punch in the snoot or a zap from a ray gun. The only way to destroy them is to expose them, to reveal them for the insidious evils they really are. The bigot is an unreasoning hater, one who hates blindly, fanatically, indiscriminately. If his hang-up is black men, he hates all black men. If a redhead once offended him, he hates all redheads. If some foreigner beat him to a job, he's down on all foreigners. He hates people he's never seen, people he's never known, with equal intensity, with equal venom. Now, we're not trying to say it's unreasonable for one human being to bug another, but although anyone has the right to dislike another individual, it's totally irrational, patently insane to condemn an entire race, to despise an entire nation, to vilify an entire religion. Sooner or later, we must learn to judge each other on our own merits. Sooner or later, if a man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance. For then and only then will we be truly worthy of the concept that man was created in the image of God. A God who calls us all his children. Pax et Justitia, Stan. Wow. We need that message, it seems, now more than ever. So we're going into Thanksgiving, guys. You will meet people in your family that you disagree with. If you hear this, please be kind to them. Be unanimous. Be kind. Did I say unanimous? That's not the right word I'm looking for. Be kind and gentle and treat them the way you would want to be treated. Remember to see the human first before you see the politics. Love one another, Sorry, I'm just having a hard time with this. It's tough. Stan Lee, what an amazing man. What a truly amazing man. Thank you. Thanksgiving, last message here. Last idea. Thanksgiving, we may argue about if Thanksgiving, how historically accurate it is, but the message that we have a nation is for two sides that disagree to come together and to hold a dinner, to break bread. That is a beautiful, wonderful idea. It is quintessentially American. Celebrate it. There is the history is a little rough on the Pilgrims and the Native Americans both, and how accurate of the first Thanksgiving dinner is not exactly truthful. And really, Thanksgiving, the tradition as we know it today, while we've had holidays of Thanksgiving throughout our history, that really came during the Civil War from Abraham Lincoln, who established it as a national holiday. The idea, though, is American. Stan Lee represented this. He taught it. Our movies we watch, they come together to fight a common threat. Captain America and Iron Man, they have their differences, but when it counts, they come together. And that's what we need to do as a people, as a nation, as friends. So that's what I implore all of you this Thanksgiving, to show love to the other side, especially when it's hard. Well, this has been the Happy Warrior Podcast. If you like what you heard at all today, please go to iTunes and review this and the other programs on the Sioux Empire Podcast Network. You can catch me at Twitter, which is Happy Warrior P, on Facebook, which is Happy Warrior Pete. My email is pete@happy-warrior.net, pete@happy-warrior.net. Tell me your Thanksgiving stories. Tell me how it went. If you have ideas, questions, things you'd like to say about the show, you hate my guts, please let me know at the email, at the Twitter, or the Facebook. Thank you so much to my producer, Robert Melling, and the hard work he does. Thank you to all the reporters and writers that I've used the material today. Thank you to you, the listener, for taking time to listen to my little podcast. Well, this is now this is 21st episode, 20th big full episode, and it's been worth it. It's been a good experience for me, and I'm glad that I could create this and share it with you. God bless this wonderful nation. God bless Stan Lee and his family. God bless the troops that serve and shed their blood on our behalf, for our rights. Please, all of you, keep safe, drive safe, try not to bug each other crazy, and have a great Thanksgiving. God bless.
Thank you for listening. The Happy Warrior Podcast, hosted by Peter Von Pischke, produced by Robert Mailing, a production of the Sioux Empire Podcast Network. Learn more at happy-warrior.net.
A production of the SiouxEmpire.com.